Flacco, the new season of Quarterback on Netflix debuts today. And part of that season is someone that we, of course, think quite highly of, longtime friend of ours, and a man you may know better as the MVP of Super Bowl 47, which comes up in this season of Quarterback. He is, of course, Bengals quarterback and former Baltimore Raven. The great Joe Flacco is back with us now here on GCR. Joe, it's Glenn. It's great to catch up with you, man. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Yeah, man, no problem. How we doing?
Everything is good, dude. I've got so much that I haven't caught up with you about. Like, how many kids are you at this point?
I got 5. They're all my youngest is 8 years old at this point, so we're kind of
Oh my gosh.
we're out of all the young stuff and on to our next phase. So
What about the respect? That bothered me. I remember seeing the clip of you when you were doing the interview with Aditi, I think last summer or the summer before.
yeah.
And you got absolutely zero respect from your kids. Has that changed at all? Like, did winning a Thursday night football game,
yeah,
did you give you like
funny.
a little bit of all right, maybe dad's still pretty cool?
Yeah, well, listen, I have a fun relationship with them. So those things are kind of going back and forth between us all the time.
Yeah.
But when you look into their eyes, you can tell the respect is there. I don't know if they'll ever admit that, but I know it.
You know what? I've got 2 boys. They're 9 and 11. I know a thing or two about that. I'm not a Super Bowl champion,
Exactly.
but I know a thing or two about that. All right, so I bring this up because a lot of people, I have not had a chance to watch the season yet. I'm really excited about it. But I saw this clip that Netflix shared, and a lot of people have. Obviously, you can't see it because you're on the phone, but I think you'll be able to hear it. I'm going to let everybody else see it. It involves.
I'm assuming it's the one when we played in Baltimore.
No, it's not. It's the trophy.
Okay.
It's
okay.
the trophy that I got a kick out of because it feels so very you. For those that haven't seen it yet, this is Joe with the Super Bowl 47, MVP trophy. This is courtesy of Netflix, the new season of Quarterback that's available today.
Super Bowl MVP trophy. I mean, it's tarnished as heck. It's been in my dad's place. Like, nobody's touched this in 12 years, 13 years. These are things that you think you're going to care about, like, a lot. And I guess, like, the idea is like, oh, yeah, that'd be cool to have, like, a little office and put some things up. And then you ultimately don't really care that much about it. Like this ring, for instance, I think my kids like to look at it. I think that's ultimately what it's for.
All right.
This is my Super
All
Bowl.
right. No, this is the most Joe Flacco thing of all time. Have you really just let your dad hold on to the MVP trophy and didn't care about it for a decade?
Well, it's funny because it's not like I don't care about those things. I do care about them, but I feel like I remember thinking that I would actually care about displaying the hardware. I care about the accomplishments, but I don't care about the hardware of it as much as I would have anticipated. You know what I mean?
Okay. I actually can understand this.
And I think at a certain point it will be cool to have the hardware as well. But I think you can kind of play those things up in your mind maybe a little bit more than you make more of it than it actually is.
Was there a point in your life where you actually didn't know where it was? Like, did it ever come up in conversation?
I kind of always knew where it was generally. You know, like I knew it was at my parents' house, but I'm not sure. I'm sure when I got that out for the show, I was like, "Hey, Dad, you do have that, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, I think it's in the garage. Let me go look." And that's kind of what it was. So
the Corvette, the Corvette.
Yes.
You legitimately never. It just sat there. It just sat.
Pretty much. I actually drove it. It was in Baltimore. I remember like maybe the second or third off season after we had won. Me and my wife drove only one car with our kids down to Baltimore. So like we had one car there and the Corvette. So I wanted to leave Dana with a car. So I was like, all right, I'll drive the Corvette in. I'll drive the Corvette into work today. And I go to get in it and nothing, like I can't even open the doors because the battery was dead. So I had to like YouTube, how do you open the door on a 2013 Corvette when the battery's dead,
I remember your reaction. I think we talked the morning after the Super Bowl when you had to do that, like, press conference when you hadn't gotten any sleep. And like I remember that you didn't know that you were going to get a car for being MVP. Is that like that was sort of a surprise to
Well,
you?
you obviously you remember when you're younger and you watch Super Bowls, you can view back and see those types of things. But I
Yeah.
think when you're in the moment, when I was in the moment on the field, that was like the
You
last
you won the
thought that I
Super Bowl,
had.
right?
You know what I'm?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Like I wasn't thinking about the damn car at that point, and it was kind of like an oh yeah, that usually does happen. You know, that's kind of how more that's what the feeling was.
Did you at any point like ask like is it can I trade it in for like a trip? Some did you have like any conversation?
Yeah,
All
no,
right.
no, no. Really, I was kind of like, all right, what am I getting? All right, that's kind of cool. I get somewhat of a pick, but ultimately, like, I view it as a trophy. I view it as another
Man.
piece of like hardware, and it is cool to have. On the VIN number, it says Joe Flacco, Super Bowl
Well,
47
that's
MVP, and
cool. Okay, that is cool.
so it is pretty neat.
Now, the you said because I have not seen a clip yet from the game in Baltimore. What is the clip that we're going to see?
One of the ads, I think one of the ads for the show was one of my sons saying, "If Dad goes off today, I'm gonna crash out." And my wife says to him, "What do you mean? Like why would you do that?" And he's like, "I benched him in fantasy."
Ha! Ah! It's so great.
So when you were asking me about my kids, and then you
Oh,
were about to tell a
oh.
clip, I was like, okay, I wonder if it's him doing that. You
Wait,
know,
did he put you in the lineup for either the Steelers or the Bears games last year?
I don't know. I
Oh, we
don't
have to get to
remember.
the
I
bottom
don't
of that.
know. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
you would have seen the crash out. Joe,
Uh,
when you agreed to do this, right? Like, obviously, you didn't know what the scenario was going to be in Cleveland, and clearly, it didn't end up being in Cleveland for very long. It's not like a lot of guys that agree to do it that know they're of course the guy, they're QB1. There's no competition. Why did you want to do it? Why is particularly given those
well,
circumstances?
yeah, I got the call from Peyton like right after I was probably named the starter in Cleveland, and yeah, you don't know how the year is going to go, but it's kind of hard to say no to Peyton too. So,
Fair.
um, and he kind of convinced me. Listen, I'm a little bit older, and I probably see it a little bit differently than I did when I was 23 years old. And he kind of brought that up. Listen, I don't think I would have done it, but now being where I am, I would have been. I would have the perspective of looking back and saying, you know what, I should have done that. And kind of like the value of just having like a little bit of a timepiece, time capsule for like my whole family and how we were at this point in our lives, and always being able to look back on it. So, some things. There's obviously some advantages to doing it, and he tried to kind of downplay the disadvantages and how kind of non-invasive it would be. And I have to say, I feel like it really was pretty, non-invasive. I feel like they put a mic on you once a week, and you're mic'd up for half the games anyway. So
That's
who
true.
cares if you're putting a mic on for a few more? So I would say he was pretty convincing just from the phone call alone. And they normally only I think do three guys, and they wanted to add a guy, and I was just like, you know what? I talked to my wife about it, and she kind of pushed me to do it a little bit, and next thing you know, I'm doing it.
That's
So
cool, man. It's funny because like I have so enjoyed this chapter of your life. You know how much we enjoyed the Baltimore chapter of your life. This chapter where you've kind of become America's sweetheart, right? Like where you're just everyone roots for you and wants to see you succeed. I know, and I remember you talking about it last year that like, hey, yeah, I think I should be starting. I think this is insane that you have to go through this, and I understand that feeling. But have you been able to embrace like this part of your football life and what it's meant to people to watch you grind and to watch you go through the things that you've gone through to continue finding success at this point in your career?
yeah, listen, I've definitely been able to enjoy it. Listen, I think anytime when what just kind of what you've been talking about, I feel that. So, even though I might not be doing exactly what I want to be doing, um, I'm not going to let that. I'm not at the point where I'm going to let that hold me back from the possibilities of what I could do, and the opportunities that present themselves. So, and the people's reception of that has made it more enjoyable. I mean, I'm obviously doing what I do because I love to do it, and because I have personal goals and things like that, and I'm always enjoying that part of the process. But having having everybody being so receptive over the last couple of years has been quite a surprise, and it's made it a lot more fun.
It's really cool, man. It's such a fun story to see unfold. You said something when you got to Cincinnati, not having the family there with you, that you actually kind of like enjoyed going to dinner by yourself, which I got to tell you is the most
Yeah.
relatable thing. Like you are one of the most relatable athletes that I've ever been around, but that uniquely is so relatable to me at 42, where
For sure.
dude, like the first time I went to a movie by myself, I was like, oh God, how pathetic am I? I'm going to the movies by myself. But now, like, I could go to a concert by myself. I could
I
legit,
know.
like, if no one wanted to go, I had tickets to the Black Crows a couple weeks ago. I'm like, I'm just gonna go. Like, I don't
Exactly.
care. Like, I don't need that affirmation at this point in my life. It's okay. How real is that for you?
Yeah, well, it was funny to see because I'm just doing a random interview and kind of talking about random stuff, probably rambling on a little bit too long. And the next thing you know, I wake up the next day and I have, a million texts from all my buddies about how funny that interview was. And when you think about it, it is really relatable. Like that's the type of thing that you think you're the only person that might be thinking that, but there's so many people out there that are traveling or just, kind of doing so many things with their family day in and day out. When they get that little break here and there, they learn how to take advantage
Oh,
of it and enjoy it. And listen, I love being around my kids.
of
I love being
course.
around my wife, but there is that alone time that everybody needs. My wife needs. I mean, listen, my parents were able to give that to me and my wife this year when because I was out there alone. There were times where she would come out, like just by herself, and it was like, wow, how fortunate are we? It's like we're dating again. We went from 5 kids to 0 kids, and we don't have to think about them for a week. So like, I don't want to sound like I'm hating on my family, but
No.
there's, it is a reminder. Everybody needs those little resets, and everybody kind of gets a chance to get those every now and then. I think at a certain point you can look at those business trips like, oh my God, I got to go on the road again. I got to do this. But then when you get to a certain point, you realize like, listen, I got to find a way to enjoy these things. Like I could have been sitting in my apartment and like down on myself and kind of homesick from missing my kids. But you got to realize you got to learn how to enjoy the little things, and that was just like a little piece of like you know getting me out of the rut when I'm maybe thinking about being homesick. It's like, hey, let's go out and get something to eat and kind of try to be a normal person. So
I so appreciate it, man. I so appreciate it. I know you didn't get much time with him, like on the field. Did you get to know Trey Hendrickson at all? I know you've gone up against him in the past. Did you get to know him at all last year?
just a little bit because he was also hurt when I kind of like right
Yeah.
after I showed up, he was hurt. He got hurt in the Green Bay game, and he really wasn't around as much after that. So only a little bit, but I know you're getting a good player. So
Yeah, I mean, there's that part we're obviously very excited about. He's really good at getting quarterbacks on the ground, which we like.
yes,
We like that
yes.
part a whole heck of a lot. There's obviously, I'm sure you know the other thing that you said on the show that's getting a lot of play is the hit from T.J. Watt. So I'll ask it directly: are the Steelers dirty, Joe Flacco?
I don't think so. I think that's part of the game. I actually enjoy that part of the game. I think eventually we're going to be missing out on it. I remember kind of talking about that hit on the sideline a little bit, and the fact that he probably knew I was a little banged up and he was going to come after. I think that's a part of the game. I in no way looked at that as like a bad thing on his part. I somewhat can respect that.
It's
Like
interesting.
he knows what he's doing. Like that's part of the game. When guys are hurt and it's part of your job to kind of exploit that a little bit. And that's the game of football. And I don't think anybody should apologize for that.
It's so funny you bring that up because you're kind of one of the few guys that are left. I remember like Ray early in your career saying, I'm not changing the way that I play. Like if I get flagged, I get
Yeah,
flagged. I'm not
for sure.
changing. This is who I am. You obviously, I know, have talked about it before, the way the game has changed. I think at this point we've all kind of accepted this is just the way it is. And we do ostensibly think that we should be trying to look out for players' health. And I know that wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Hey, they're playing on Thursday nights and playing in Brazil and things like that. Like,
Right, right,
is it
exactly.
is it a net positive or a net negative for football the way that the game has changed?
Listen, I think it's hard to argue about the direction of the National Football League over the last 10 years. The growth has been incredible. The amount of people that are watching the game of football, I mean, they found a way to just put they've found a way to just continue to like basically have compound interest on the amount of eyes that are watching our sport. I ultimately think that there's some things that are missing from the old game, but at the end of the day, it's about getting that viewership and getting people interested in our sport. And I think it's hard to argue with the job they've done there. They've done an incredible job, and it's like it's probably through things like this that they've been able to take advantage of. And yeah, listen, I think there are things that are missing from the game the way it used to be 15 years ago. But like I said, they've done such a good job in so many areas that it's definitely a net positive with what they've done to the game.
Did you have a vote in the NFL Top 100 Players poll?
I think they always give you a paper. They always kind of they'll go to a couple people around a locker room and say, "Hey, fill out 20 guys here." I usually turn it down. I don't usually feel like filling it out.
Dude,
so.
Every time I've talked about this list, I will never forget. I'm not going to say who it was, but a prominent player that you were teammates with legitimately asked me if I would fill out the list for him once upon a time.
Yeah, exactly.
He handed it to me and said, "Who do you think should be on this list?" So that's why I don't give it too much. That said,
that's players,
right.
We mostly don't really
right.
doing that.
You're worried about what you're
and
worried
what
about.
what are we gonna do besides maybe put ourselves on there and then like the same 15 guys that everybody else is gonna put on there? You know what I'm saying?
Yep. And
like
or you better put your
teammates.
teammates.
We have a unique. Yeah, exactly. That's the other thing. You put your teammates on there. Like everybody kind of thinks we have this unique perspective on things, and at the end of the day, we really don't. We're trying to look out for our teammates and like making sure that, like I remember the old Pro Bowl voting. You're like, oh well, we got a guy that's really good at that position. If we vote for the other good guy, well, we're kind of screwing our guy. You know what I mean? Like you could and hopefully I think overall that doesn't end up affecting it a ton, but there is a little bit of that. I mean, think about it.
It makes sense.
Like you're gonna look out if your guy if it's like a neck and neck battle, you're gonna try to do the best to look out for your guy. So.
No, if you want Dennis to be in the Pro Bowl back in the day, right? Like then you don't want to vote for. Hey, if I really think he's the best, I don't want to vote for that guy because it might be what squeezes Dennis out. It actually makes a ton of sense when you say it that way.
So like sometimes the player voting and the coaching voting, like sometimes, like that's why I tend to, even though like the fan voting can kind of be crazy and it's just a popularity vote. I kind of tend to lean, who cares? That's what this is basically. And we should probably just use that. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is.
So I say that to say, but we can still be pissed off about Lamar Jackson being 69th, right? Like that's absurd, right?
Well, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, what are we doing? Like there's 68 players in the NFL that are better than Lamar Jackson. I'm so sure that's the case.
Well, you got it's just like everything though. These lists are meant to invoke some kind of response. They're meant to have everybody, talk about it for the next month
do
before,
6 weeks
before the season starts.
This is like when some guy I know said he was the best quarterback in football. This is like that, and I probably should have given you a percentage of every paycheck I got after that. It's interesting you bring up the Pro Bowl. You decided to go this year. You had been invited before and turned it down. What was that all about for you? Why did you decide, hey, I'm gonna go choose to be a part of that this time?
Yeah, well, I think, listen, like I am a little bit older, and it was nice to go do one, and also I have kids that I felt like could have fun during the week. I remember when I was younger, and I don't regret not going, but I do have a different perspective now. But when I was younger, listen, it meant something to be one of those three guys, and I kind of wanted my first time to be one of those three guys. And listen, you were competing with Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. Those were like locks. Like they're two, so it was really one spot. And who was going to get that spot? Was it going to be Philip? Was it going to be Ben? Like who was it going to be, but I did. I would have taken a little bit more pride in being one of those three spots. And that's kind of how I looked at it back in the day. And then, listen, I mean, one of my kids was being born on one of those, and and who knows? But at the same time, listen, I'm a little bit older. My perspective changes. I get less worried about that stuff, and I just thought it would be a cool thing to attend.
I'll wrap with this one, man, and I always appreciate it. You got the chance to play against the Ravens last year. Is there any part of you that's like, yeah, I know that nobody wants Joe to be hurt. I get that, like, that's the way that football works. But is there still a part of you that says, I kind of like to get that pelt. I kind of like to get one over them before it's all said and done.
Oh, listen, I mean, yeah, I don't look at it like that necessarily. Like, oh, I wish I could play this game right now. But yeah, of course, it would be nice at some point in my whatever I have left to have yeah, if all things are equal, like it'd be great to have an opportunity to actually get one on them.
I understand that entirely. We, of course, will root for the exact opposite of that. No disrespect to you, but I completely get it. That makes all the sense in the world. New season of Quarterback is streaming now on Netflix. Joe Flacco, can't wait to watch it. Appreciate you eternally. I hope you know that. Thank you for taking the time for us. Let's talk again real soon, all right?
No problem. You got it.
Thanks, brother.